Queen Camilla.
Queen Camilla.
She was the villain.
I can't mimic voices for love or money. I'm completely hopeless.
Queen Camilla has always been one of the most discussed and controversial figures inside the British royal family. To many people, she is seen as a supportive partner to King Charles, someone who stood by him through years of public challenges and eventually became his queen consort. To others, however, she carries the shadow of the past, especially her long and complicated history with Charles during his marriage to Princess Diana. This divided image has always followed her, and even after she became queen, not everyone accepted her with open arms. For years, the palace worked hard to build her public reputation, presenting her as warm, steady, and reliable. But according to recent reports, there was always a hidden side to her interactions with those who were not born into the aristocracy. This is where the shocking story of Carole Middleton comes in. Carole, the mother of Catherine, Princess of Wales, has always been seen as a calm and private figure, someone who preferred to stay out of the drama and avoid the spotlight. She built a business, raised her children with care, and guided her daughter Kate into one of the most public and demanding roles in the world, the role of a future queen. But now, in a move that shocked everyone who follows the monarchy, Carole has reportedly broken her silence. The once quiet woman is said to have spoken out about her years of quiet tension with Queen Camilla, and the details of what she revealed are explosive. Insiders explain that the tension between Carole and Camilla is not something that happened overnight. It began as far back as the early 2000s, when William and Kate were still dating. At first, Camilla appeared supportive, welcoming Kate into the royal circle with polite words and gestures. But according to close friends of Carole, it didn't take long before the warmth started to feel false. Carole began to notice little signs, like compliments that sounded rehearsed or invitations that felt more like obligations than true gestures of friendship. Over time, these small moments built into a pattern. Behind the polished smiles and public photo opportunities, there was a quiet but very real distance between the two women. Camilla, some say, never fully approved of Kate's middle-class background. In the traditional royal world, being blue-blooded was everything, and the Middleton family, despite their success and refinement, were not born into aristocracy. For Camilla and certain others in the palace, that was an unspoken but undeniable problem. Carole, being protective of her daughter, picked up on this energy quickly. She noticed the half-hearted praise about Kate's fashion, the sly comments about her inexperience, and the occasional digs at the Middleton family's background. While most of the world saw smiles and handshakes at public events, behind the scenes Carole was quietly building up frustration. Still, she refused to engage in open conflict. For years, she stayed silent, believing that protecting her daughter's peace and image was more important than feeding drama. But silence does not erase hurt. Carole observed everything, every sideways glance, every veiled remark, every attempt by Camilla to cast doubt on Kate's readiness for the royal role. And as Kate's role became more demanding over time, Carole became increasingly worried. She watched as her daughter began showing signs of strain, smiles that didn't quite reach her eyes, shorter responses during public duties, and moments of clear fatigue. To Carole, this was not just the weight of royal responsibility. She believed it was Camilla's subtle influence, trying to shape Kate into someone more compliant, more traditional, less independent. That idea did not sit well with her, because Carole had raised Kate to be strong, thoughtful, and self-assured. Over the years, this quiet feud became a hidden undercurrent inside the royal family. At weddings, official dinners, and family gatherings, Carole kept her composure, but the tension with Camilla was always there. According to insiders, Camilla often worked in quiet ways to keep Carole at a distance. For example, she was reportedly left out of key social gatherings, seated away from the family during certain events, or subtly excluded from important discussions. None of these actions were loud enough to create a scandal on their own, but when added together, they created a pattern of being sidelined. Carole, who had worked so hard to maintain dignity and respect in her new royal connections, felt these snubs deeply. And while she held her tongue for years, her patience was slowly reaching its breaking point. The relationship, once polite but strained, was heading toward open conflict, and it was only a matter of time before something gave way. The breaking point, according to sources, came when Carole felt she could no longer remain silent about the way her daughter was being treated. Over the years, she had endured quiet dismissals and icy exchanges, but when she saw Kate's happiness and confidence begin to waver, she knew she had to act. For Carole, this was not just about herself, it was about protecting her daughter from the weight of palace politics and from the influence of someone she believed was not acting in her daughter's best interest. Insiders say Carole reached the conclusion that speaking out was the only way to truly draw attention to what had been happening behind the scenes. And so, in a move that few expected from someone so famously private, Carole reportedly confronted the issue directly. The scene, as described by those close to the palace, was dramatic. During a gathering, Carole stood her ground, addressing Camilla in a firm voice that left the room silent. She was no longer the quiet, patient figure in the background, she was a mother protecting her child. She is said to have spoken about the years of subtle manipulation, the constant sidelining, and the way Camilla had allegedly tried to mold Kate into a version of herself that would better fit the palace's rigid traditions. Those in the room were stunned. Carole's words, measured but powerful, broke the royal silence in a way that nobody had anticipated. For years, whispers of tension had floated around, but to hear them addressed openly, and directed at Queen Camilla herself, was unprecedented. The most shocking part of Carole's words, however, came when she hinted at a secret from Camilla's past. Reports claim that Carole suggested knowledge of financial scandals, questionable dealings, and manipulative actions that had long been buried from public view. Whether or not these claims were true, the effect was immediate. Camilla was visibly shaken, caught off guard by Carole's boldness. Witnesses describe her face turning pale, her composure cracking as Carole calmly stated, "I know the truth, and soon others will too." The air in the room became heavy, and for a moment it seemed as though the monarchy itself was trembling under the weight of the revelation. Even if no proof was presented at that moment, the fact that Carole dared to confront Camilla so directly created shock waves that rippled through royal circles. From that point on, nothing was the same. The palace worked quickly to downplay the reports, but royal watchers were already buzzing. The image of Carole Middleton, once the quiet and supportive mother-in-law, had transformed into that of a determined and outspoken figure, unafraid to stand up to one of the most powerful women in the monarchy. This boldness was not only surprising but also deeply symbolic. For years, the royal family had controlled narratives tightly, keeping disagreements and personal struggles hidden behind closed doors. By breaking that tradition, Carole had challenged the very system that had sidelined her for so long. Media outlets immediately jumped on the story, reporting every detail they could uncover. Some commentators defended Carole, saying she was right to speak up if she believed her daughter was being mistreated. Others criticized her, arguing that such revelations threatened the stability of the monarchy and played into the hands of tabloids hungry for scandal. Either way, one thing was clear: the days of Carole being ignored or dismissed were over. She had stepped into the center of the storm, and her words had forced everyone, from palace insiders to the public, to reconsider the carefully polished image of Queen Camilla. But why now? Why did Carole choose this moment, after years of silence, to finally let her feelings be known? Insiders suggest that Kate's recent visible struggles may have been the final straw. Her quiet demeanor during public events, her strained smiles, and her apparent fatigue were all signals that worried her mother deeply. Carole believed that Camilla's influence was weighing on her daughter, pushing her into a mold that did not fit her natural personality. For Carole, this was unacceptable. She had raised Kate to be independent, confident, and authentic, and to see her daughter bending under pressure was something she could not tolerate. Her decision to speak out was not just about herself, it was about defending the well-being of her daughter, and by extension, the future of the monarchy itself. The aftermath of Carole's reported confrontation with Queen Camilla has been described as one of the most tense moments in recent royal history. Though the palace has avoided confirming details, the story continues to spread among royal watchers and media outlets. Some say the relationship between Camilla and Carole may now be beyond repair, while others believe this dramatic moment could actually clear the air and force long-suppressed tensions into the open. What is certain is that the royal family has once again found itself in the center of headlines for reasons it would rather avoid. For Carole Middleton, her reputation has shifted permanently. No longer just the quiet, supportive figure in the background, she is now seen as a mother willing to stand up against the queen consort herself. To many people, this makes her relatable, someone who prioritizes family over status, truth over silence. To others, her actions may appear too bold, even dangerous, as they risk destabilizing the fragile balance of royal unity. Yet in either case, her voice has been heard, and it cannot be ignored. For Queen Camilla, the challenge is different. She has spent years carefully shaping her public image, moving from the villain of the Diana years to a respected figure by King Charles's side. This reported confrontation threatens to undo some of that progress, bringing back questions about her past and reigniting whispers about whether she truly belongs in the role she now holds. While her supporters will argue that these are only rumors and exaggerations, the damage to her image may already be done in the eyes of some. As for Kate Middleton, the center of this storm, the future remains uncertain. She continues to fulfill her duties with grace, but the visible strain has not gone unnoticed. The hope among her supporters is that her mother's boldness will protect her, giving her the strength to remain authentic despite palace pressures. Whether this confrontation becomes just another chapter in royal gossip or a turning point in the monarchy's future remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, the story of Carole Middleton standing up to Queen Camilla has captured the imagination of millions, proving once again that beneath the glittering surface of royalty lies a world full of rivalries, secrets, and battles for respect. Carole Middleton, the mother of Catherine, Princess of Wales, has always been seen as a steady and reliable figure in the royal family's orbit. Unlike many others connected to the crown, Carole has never chased the spotlight or demanded attention. Instead, she has quietly supported her daughter, Prince William, and her 3 grandchildren, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. Yet, despite her calm and respectful approach, Carole has unexpectedly found herself at the center of a storm. At the heart of this storm is Queen Camilla, who many insiders claim has never been completely comfortable with Carole's role in William and Kate's lives. To understand this shocking revelation, we have to go back to the early days of William and Kate's relationship. When the young prince first began dating Kate Middleton, Camilla is said to have had serious doubts. She reportedly believed Kate was not royal material. According to author Christopher Anderson, Camilla felt that Kate's background was far too middle-class for someone who might one day become queen consort. Kate was the daughter of a flight attendant and a former airline dispatcher, and though her parents built a successful business, their background was worlds apart from the aristocratic families that traditionally mingled with royals. For Camilla, this wasn't just a difference in upbringing, it was personal. She allegedly looked down on the Middletons and questioned whether Kate could handle the pressures of royal life. The situation grew even more complicated in 2007. At the time, William and Kate briefly broke up, and reports later claimed that Camilla quietly encouraged this split. She may have felt that William should marry someone with noble bloodlines rather than a young woman from an ordinary background. William, deeply in love with Kate, found himself torn between his feelings and the subtle pressures coming from his father's partner. The relationship survived the turmoil, but the scars of that time never truly faded. William respected Camilla in public, but privately he kept her at a distance. According to insiders, there was always a coldness between them. Camilla saw William as unpredictable, someone not easily influenced by palace games, and William, in return, never really warmed to her. The tension deepened after Prince Harry published his memoir, Spare. In it, Harry revealed that both he and William had asked their father not to marry Camilla. They weren't just hesitant, they were completely against the idea. Harry even described her as a wicked stepmother, echoing the painful fairy tales of their childhood. But Charles ignored their concerns and married Camilla in 2005, formally bringing her into the royal family. While the public tried to accept Camilla's new role, William and Harry's relationship with her remained distant. They were polite in public but never close in private. For William, the connection between Camilla and his mother, Princess Diana, was too painful to ignore. Diana had suffered deeply in her marriage because of Charles and Camilla's long-standing affair, and that history made it nearly impossible for her sons to fully embrace her. This chilly relationship became even more noticeable as William's public role grew. Over the years, William has stepped into the spotlight with increasing confidence. Many people see him as the future of the monarchy, someone modern, approachable, and relatable. His popularity has surged across the country, and with Kate at his side, the couple has become a symbol of stability and charm. But this popularity has created new tensions within the palace. Some insiders believe that King Charles feels overshadowed by his son. After waiting decades for the crown, Charles finally sits on the throne, yet public attention often shifts toward William and Kate. For Charles, this situation is eerily similar to the rivalry he once felt with Diana, when her popularity outshone his own. And what about Camilla? Reports suggest she is deeply unsettled. She waited years for public acceptance, and finally, she achieved her dream of becoming queen. But now, with William stepping forward and Kate beside him, Camilla reportedly fears that her role could shrink faster than expected. This is where Carole Middleton's role becomes crucial. Carole has always been a central figure in William and Kate's family life. She is frequently present with her grandchildren, often helping with childcare, school runs, and family holidays. Her presence has given William something he never had growing up, a warm and supportive extended family. While Charles and Camilla were busy with royal duties and traditions, Carole and Michael Middleton provided the comfort of a normal home environment. William, shaped by the emotional distance of his royal childhood, found this grounding influence not only comforting but essential. Insiders say he often prefers the relaxed Middleton household over the formality of palace life. But Charles has reportedly struggled with this dynamic. Sources say he feels left out, especially when it comes to spending time with his grandchildren. One palace aide explained that Charles sometimes feels like a distant relative rather than a grandfather. This emotional gap has hurt him deeply, as he always imagined playing a larger role in George, Charlotte, and Louis's lives. This tension reportedly dates back to George's third birthday party. The event, organized almost entirely by Carole, was a cheerful, family-centered celebration. But Charles left feeling like an outsider, more of a guest than a grandfather. Camilla, naturally, supported her husband's frustrations, and she has occasionally expressed annoyance at what she sees as Carole's overly assertive role in the family. The situation worsened when William and Kate began spending more holidays and private time with the Middletons instead of with Charles and Camilla. A ski trip that Charles had hoped to join but was excluded from left him especially hurt. He had dreamed of being part of such moments, but instead, he felt rejected. Thus, what began as personal differences between Camilla and Kate has grown into a deeper family divide, one that involves grandparents competing for influence. Carole Middleton, by simply being present and supportive, has found herself unintentionally at the center of a quiet royal feud. And now, her revelation, that she has always tried to stay respectful and in the background, only to find herself blamed for the rift, has shocked many observers. For Carole, this situation is heartbreaking. She never sought the spotlight, yet she has become a key figure in a battle that may shape the future of the monarchy. The divide between the Middletons and the royal family has often been subtle, but over the years it has become impossible to ignore. On one side stand Charles and Camilla, armed with centuries of royal tradition and the weight of the crown. On the other side are Carole and Michael Middleton, down-to-earth parents who raised their children with warmth, consistency, and practical love. To many people, the difference may seem small, but for William, the contrast has been life-changing. Growing up in the royal household, William often faced emotional distance, rigid schedules, and strict expectations. His childhood, marked by the collapse of his parents' marriage and the tragic loss of his mother, left scars that shaped his adult life. When he met Kate and entered the Middleton household, he experienced something completely different. In their home, dinners were casual, conversations were warm, and family life was relaxed. For William, this was the stability he craved. It's no surprise, then, that he gravitated toward the Middletons as his safe haven. Carole Middleton, in particular, became a figure of comfort. Unlike many in the royal family, she didn't play games or enforce rigid formality. She was simply there, helping with the children, offering advice when needed, and stepping back when it wasn't her place. Yet it's precisely this steady presence that made Charles uncomfortable. To him, it seemed that Carole was taking on a role that should have belonged to him and Camilla. Royal insiders say Charles wanted to create his own special bond with the grandchildren. In fact, he once had a custom shepherd's hut built at his countryside home so George, Charlotte, and Louis could enjoy magical childhood moments with him. But those efforts never quite matched the everyday involvement of the Middletons. Carole and Michael were simply closer and more available. This imbalance has reportedly fueled resentment behind palace walls. Charles, according to aides, has sometimes described Carole as too involved, while Camilla has allegedly expressed frustration that the Middletons overstep. From the outside, this may look like a simple family disagreement, but within the royal household, every small issue is magnified. Who spends more holidays with the children? Who hosts birthday parties? Who is trusted with childcare during busy weeks? These questions, while ordinary in most families, become matters of influence and power in the royal world. For Camilla, the situation is particularly uncomfortable. After years of struggling for public acceptance, she finally sits as queen beside Charles. Yet her influence is limited when compared with the natural, unforced closeness that Carole has with William and Kate. The Middletons don't carry royal titles, but their impact on the future king and queen is undeniable. And it doesn't stop there. William's growing popularity only adds to the tension. As he takes on more public duties and presents himself as a modern, approachable leader, the public increasingly sees him and Kate as the true face of the monarchy's future. Polls often show higher approval ratings for William and Kate than for Charles and Camilla. While Charles has worked hard to secure his position, there's no denying that his son and daughter-in-law are viewed as fresher, more relatable, and more in touch with the modern world. This reality creates an uncomfortable shadow over Charles's reign. For Camilla, the challenge is even greater. She finally achieved the crown she once only dreamed of, yet her time in the spotlight may be shorter than expected. William's growing influence means that Camilla's role, both publicly and privately, could shrink sooner than she hoped. Against this backdrop, Carole Middleton's latest revelation feels especially powerful. Friends close to her say she is heartbroken by Charles's belief that she is too assertive. Carole reportedly feels misunderstood. She never wanted to dominate or take control of royal affairs. In her eyes, she was simply being a supportive grandmother and mother. She avoided public drama, stayed out of palace politics, and focused on her family. Yet despite her efforts, she now finds herself cast as the other woman in the lives of Charles and Camilla, someone seen as interfering when all she wanted was to help. This quiet bombshell, that she feels unfairly blamed for the rift, has left many observers stunned. What makes this situation even more fascinating is how ordinary it really is beneath the royal layers. Many families experience similar struggles between grandparents, in-laws, and extended relatives. Who gets to spend more time with the children? Whose traditions are followed during the holidays? Who is more trusted by the parents? These are questions almost every family faces. But in this case, the stakes are far higher, because the children in question are the future of the monarchy. Every decision, from birthday parties to holiday trips, becomes a reflection of where influence lies. And in this battle, Carole and Michael Middleton seem to have the upper hand, not through power or titles, but through simple, consistent presence. This, more than anything, is what unsettles Camilla. She knows that when William becomes king, Kate will become queen beside him. At that point, the influence of the Middletons will be locked in as part of the royal story. For someone like Camilla, who fought so hard for public acceptance, this must feel deeply frustrating. After years of waiting for recognition, she now faces the reality that her role might always feel temporary compared with the lasting impact of William, Kate, and the Middleton family. And so, the palace finds itself caught in a quiet but painful conflict, one that blends class differences, old rivalries, personal insecurities, and the simple human desire to belong. Carole Middleton never asked for this battle, but by standing by her daughter and grandchildren, she has become a key player in the drama of the crown. As we look at this story, one thing becomes clear: the royal family's struggles are not just about crowns, titles, or public approval. At the heart of it all are very human emotions: love, loyalty, jealousy, and the desire to be valued. Carole Middleton's shocking revelation shows how even someone who tries to stay in the background can end up at the center of palace drama. By being a constant support for William, Kate, and the children, Carole has created an emotional foundation that even the crown itself cannot replace. And for Charles and Camilla, this reality has been difficult to accept. The question now is, what happens next? With Kate's recent health struggles bringing the family closer together, some believe that Camilla and William are trying to put aside old grievances for the sake of unity. Publicly, they may show smiles and warmth, but behind closed doors, doubts still linger. Can Camilla ever truly feel secure in her role while the Middletons play such an important part in William's life? Can Charles accept that his grandchildren may always feel closer to their other grandparents? And will Carole continue to be blamed for simply doing what any loving mother and grandmother would do? In the end, this story is about more than just a clash of personalities. It's about the future of the monarchy and the quiet power that comes not from crowns or thrones, but from family bonds. Carole Middleton's steady presence has already shaped William and Kate's family life, and by extension, the lives of the future king and queen. Whether Camilla likes it or not, Carole's influence is here to stay. And that may be the biggest shock of all. So what do you think? Is Carole Middleton truly at the center of a quiet battle with Queen Camilla? Or is this simply another example of royal drama being magnified for the world to see? One thing's for sure, the crown may rest on Charles's head, but the heart of the family often beats where the cameras don't look.